Hello! Sometimes, very seldom, I do videos on English, but I have to make this one in English. And if you're wondering where I'm from Austria, the place where Arnold Schwarzenegger came from, and some painters. Yeah, but I really have to make a point here now why Eminem is the GOAT and why most people don't understand that. What is a GOAT? To those new in hip hop, GOAT means greatest of all time. And there's just no question that Eminem is the GOAT. And if you don't believe me, after all, the racist it goes, I'm white and I'm from Austria. So what do I know? If you don't believe me, ask 50 Cent. He's supposed to know something about hip hop, and he says, Eminem don't have to follow anybody. He don't even follow me. He follows himself. He's the GOAT. And he definitely is. Eminem butchered Jay-Z on their track. They had together. Eminem in his prime butchered every artist who went against him. Eminem discovered Jay-Z, 50 Cent, who's a main force in hip-hop ever since. And he had, and that's correct, a 3-album run. That was the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, and the Eminem Show. And yes, it's true, after that, there was nothing really commercial in his music to be found, and nothing really quite good, to be honest. Still, he's the GOAT. So why is that? And who am I to talk about this? I'm a professional producer, music producer, a hip-hop artist, a rapper, a pianist, a learned actor. So I know some things. Yeah, I don't know every secret about black culture in America. Totally agree with that one. I listen to Lil Bill, good channel, very informative. But that's not the point. I was on the Kendrick diss with Drake now, and I understand. These are very black issues, but Eminem was not about being black, especially in his prime, and still it's not about that. Eminem gets so much hate today from all sides, and it's basically his job now as the only really cultural accepted rap giant that is white to just talk about that. And that has a purpose in itself. And now, why is Eminem the GOAT? First off, his 3-album run was unmatched and made him a never-to-forget figure in American music at the right time. He was, so to say, the hip-hop Marilyn Manson, but a lot bigger. He was commercially big. But that's not what I'm pointing to. Yeah, I misled you. What Eminem did, and no one else could do, and Eminem did it with Dr. Dre, the most acclaimed black hip-hop producer of all time. Yeah, maybe Timbaland was also, and Kanye is also very interesting, of course. But look at the facts. Hip-hop, how it is today, is mainly a product of Dr. Dre's mind. And when Dr. Dre first heard Eminem, He was surprised that this guy is white because he was so good just in what he did. But the funny thing that then occurred in this 3-album run Eminem had, which is so completely unmatched in music history altogether, maybe just by the Beatles, he took over. And basically when Eminem got big, rock music disappeared as a main influence at all. And what do we listen to today? We listen to Dua Lipa, Young Thug, and now they're all called. This is very hip-hop inspired music. When Eminem came, he turned black music. And when I say black music, the whole rock pop music is black music. What we know today as pop music is so much a black music. Most people don't know this, but everything we know as rock and roll, hip hop, initially came through black artists. And the US is a very racist country. It still is, and it was back then. And mostly black people did not get props. And a lot of white artists just got famous by stealing black stuff. Some were better, some were worse. And this is not about a complete history lesson of racism in the US. I'm not qualified. But black music finally took over. And this is interesting. You can hear 50 Cent talk about the same thing when a white artist was the biggest thing on the planet in music. There are voices out there, and I consider myself a voice like this. Barack Obama, the first black president of the US, would not have happened if there was no Eminem. Because, yeah, most people are potatoes, but some people aren't. And the people who aren't potatoes, especially the white people who listened to Eminem, finally understood hip-hop. And they, as corny and stupid as it sounds, when they watched 8 Mile, the movie, first saw what racism in the US is, because it was a clever written movie. It turned the white guy to the one who is racially discriminated against. And then, yeah, everybody understood that now. And then white people across the whole Western world knew, yeah, this is what hip-hop is about. And of course, this Eminem thing is not to be taken literally, but it's just a Parabel, I'm German, a Gleichnis, to show how it really feels to be black. And why this music, this black music, is so aggressive and so self-centered and so gangster, because what I also learned, blacks are not more gangsters in the US. They are just kinds of people that don't really trust the cops and the law for a good reason. And then it unfolded in so many people. This was the biggest thing in my generation. I'm a 40-year-old white millennial. But to get that switch opened up hip-hop culture to me. And it still does. And this is another reason why Eminem is the GOAT. It floated money into the pockets of black artists in America. I've been, in my youth, to America a lot, but only when Eminem came, black culture got relevant to me. Yeah. He says it in his own song, because I look like them. They could empathize. And that's very interesting. So hip hop, in that switch, just killed rock music as a whole. And that's so funny for me as a 40-year-old millennial, looking at all those Gen Zers and all those young people. It's also the same thing with Marilyn Manson. Thinking that they're original, that they're cool, that they're edgy, when really they're just copying these two artists, basically. Rock died with Kurt Cobain, because Kurt Cobain, in the end, although his pain and his wrong-guided feminism and his suicide and his heroin addiction and his gut problems pointed him to some direction, Kurt Cobain, as the last white great rock star, couldn't get out of that. He started to smell like Teen Spirit, that there's something very wrong in the industry, like Michael Jackson did when he tried to be a white guy. But to be frank, it was artists like Manson and Eminem who turned that around. And there are great Manson phrases. I'm your black face and your God is gone. Of course, when you listen to Marilyn Manson, you always know he doesn't talk about the real God. He always said that. I never really hated the one true God, but the God of the people I hated. He talks about the false God that he thinks America is worshipping. Now, Manson always was a bit of a closed shop, even at the prime of his fame. But Eminem, he got complete pop star status, and he changed hip-hop forever. And the funny thing is, with just being him, being white, being so good at what he does in his first 3-album run, he shifted a lot of people to that and revived hip-hop and made it the main dominating force in popular music. Nobody else could do this. It's quite something religious if you think about it. I mean, Eminem songs are weird, they're strange, they're aggressive, they use bad words. But in the end, it just brought a lot of thinking people to really listen to hip-hop. I only listen to American hip-hop. I don't listen to German rap. I don't like that genre. Really, I despise it. Although I'm a German rapper myself, but I'm not very much known. But then I had a depression, and I was at my work, and work was finished, and I got out, and I put Illmatic in from Nas. And yeah, I could relate to that so much. It described my own feelings as an Austrian so much better than any Austrian song could. And I learned it through Eminem. And this is what makes him the GOAT. He was a key for everyone who's not black American hood culture to really get into dark rap on a mainstream level. And ever since, the story continues. Rap is now the dominant music. While the Beatles mainly brought guitar sound and started this era that lasted 40 years, Eminem started the hip-hop era. But why is new Eminem whack, you might ask me now? Good question. Because Eminem, I think, he was young, he was on drugs, he had this cultural momentum. When I was in the USA, he fought that fight. But there's really not much to say. He said it all already. And in everything he does, he tries to show he still got the skills, he can rhyme, he can do, but he already said it all. I once was with a friend of mine in a bar, and he also said, yeah, back then he was relatable, but now he is this big star. There's nothing relatable, and he knows this about him with all those legends. And now he cannot pull any black card like Snoop Dogg still does, because Snoop Dogg still... Was there a good Snoop Dogg song in the last 10 years? I don't know. Of course, the whole hip-hop genre depends on people coming from the hood, from down there. It's a form of American dream and making it. But after you made it, well, what's there to rap about? Of course, it's with Eminem the same thing. But he gets very technical. And I see a lot of hate videos about Eminem. Oh, he has no substance no more. He didn't do that. He's part of the culture. He has nothing to rap about no more. He made it. He dominated the culture for about 5 years. And now he talks about that. But he just reflects. Of course, he has no more bangers. It's not his job. And as he always said, he's a tourist in hip-hop. Because when we really bring hip-hop down, it's a black music, like 50 Cent said, for black people in the US. But Eminem opened the market, and he made this voice heard. And I think, what has he to worry about? He's a millionaire, he's rich, his daughter is happily married. There's no more ghetto in him, no more rage. And that's a good thing. He's getting older as a person. But the shift he did was very important, and no one else could do it. It needed this one white person in a completely black genre to turn the whole genre and the dominance around. And as I said, no Eminem, no Obama. And today there are discussions, and I listen to these videos where people hate about Eminem being on a Nas track, EMPD2. And yeah, I think this is criticism from someone who doesn't know, because it comes from young people. It seems shallow, but if you lived through it, like I did, I'm 40 now, you know what Eminem says and why Nas respects him. And you know, if Jay-Z, if Dr. Dre, if Nas, if 50 Cent, and Lil Wayne respect you, there's probably something to be respected. And I do not think that Eminem today is allowed from himself, from his own intelligence, to really say what he thinks. He was in the early 2000s on a complete rampage, a maniac, protected by Dr. Dre. A complete genius. He could destroy every career. He was just the man, the best rapper. But of course, he got sober, he got more stable, he was rich, and this flame expired at some point. And now he reflects on this, but still he has to say something in the really great business. And as again, I'm an Austrian hip-hop producer. So what do I know? Well, I do hip-hop the way I like it. A lot of people do it now. But this cultural shift from just being some sort of punk rock for black Americans to being a worldwide phenomenon in hip-hop, this was just Eminem. And I wouldn't know what to say if I was neither. Whatever he does is wrong, but there's always this saying, there's the stands from Eminem and the haters of Eminem. And Eminem knows this. He looks at it. He was there, and he still is, and he always gonna be. Eminem is the GOAT. In the black music genre, he's the only white person who really stood out that much and who is really respected. There are a lot of good white rappers. I like Mad Child from Canada. And Mad Child is good. But it's, in this case, just a cultural overall impact. And no one ever had an impact like Eminem on the cultural side, because he made white people understand black music. And this is just, he cannot relate to anybody. He's unique. And I think that makes him the GOAT. And the rappers I mentioned, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, those are all the biggest rappers, but they like Eminem. So Eminem does not compete anymore, really. He's just the thing he is. And he cannot just write a pop song anymore. He is something quite strange. And I hope after those minutes I sent you through, you understand why I think that way. So the hate towards him, like the stand towards him, is wrong. He made not just a 3-album run. I mean, listen to the disses. This man has it. But yes, the culture does not acknowledge him no more. And it's time to move on. Yeah, we're all getting older. Till we go old, weird, and disappear into the mountains. Nothing but clowns down here. But back at the time, it was a good thing. It's like the Beatles, bringing rock and roll to the mainstream. But it's a black-white thing. And in this thing, I just think it's... Yeah, I can say this way. I hope I said enough. Keep on bouncing.